Hello and welcome to the Stitch Studio channel, everyone. So this is our Seamly 2D tutorial series, and in this episode I'll guide you through the process of actually creating custom measurements using Seamly 2D. So one of the great things about having this available to you is it is a free open source software for pattern making purposes, and you can actually create bodice blocks and print them out as well at home to suit your needs. So whether you're a fashion designer, a pattern maker, or simply someone that's interested in creating personalized garments, Seamly 2D has got you covered. So let's get started. A quick overview of the actual layout. As you can see, I've got an example of a close-fitting bodice dress block that I've got in front of me right now. And this is actually based off of the measurements for a size 14 Winifred Aldrich model, which I will also link in the description box below for anyone that's wanting to follow along with that book. Now you can see here I've actually created the pattern, and to create that particular piece, we can actually see that there's some examples over here as well on my particular screen. Now, if you wanted to learn how to actually create the measurements to fit your measurement profile, then there is a great way of actually addressing this by going into the measurements tab and hitting what we call Open Seamly Me. Now this window is ready for you to actually create a new measurement file. So to begin creating custom measurements, we need to actually set up a measurement profile. And this is going to contain all of the necessary measurements specific to the person that you want the fit to be for. So this can be for yourself, this can be for a client. So let's actually go ahead by doing this. Now that I've got my window open, I'm going to hit New, and the measurement type is going to be individual. And in another following tutorial, we will also go into how to create multi-size measurements. Now the units, depending on where you're from and what units you want to work in, there are 3 options available. For this particular tutorial, we're going to be working in centimeters. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, once this screen comes up over here, you will see that there's a measurement diagram on the right, which is actually going to show you all of the measurements and how they're going to fit on a particular body and what part of the body they are encompassing as well. So let's go ahead and add our first measurement by hitting Add Note. And you can see here we get a whole option of measurements that we can go about using. Now, if I want to scroll down, I'll see that it goes anywhere from the height to your hand measurements, foot, head, and circumference measurements as well. Most of the time, I generally tend to use the vertical and circumference measurements alongside the horizontal measurements as well. So let's actually click on one of these and see what we get. As you can see here, for your across chest measurement, it is labeled as I03. So the number 3 on the diagram actually shows what that measurement is going to cover and where that is measuring on a human body. So I want to select the cross chest measurement, so I'm going to tick this one. I also want to get, a back measurement as well. So let's look at what this one covers. Across back, number 8 is quite suitable for me, or I can also go from armfold to armfold. So I'm actually going to go with the second option here, and I'm going to select both of them and hit OK. You can see that they get populated in our measurement diagram on the screen at the moment. So what you need to be able to enter is the particular formula or the measurement value that's actually going to cover your custom measurement. So for across the chest, I want a measurement of 86 for myself. And for my second measurement of the back measurement from the armhole point to the second armhole point on the bottom, I'm going to get this measurement at 48. Okay, so once those are ready for me, I have those custom measurements populated and they're ready to be used in a particular block or a pattern that you do wish to create. Now, one of the other great things in Seamly 2D is you don't actually have to stick to just the known measurements that you have available. You can create custom measurements as well. So for a lot of bodice blocks, and especially close-fitting bodice blocks as well, one of the key measurements that you come across is bust point to bust point. And that's one of the measurements that I'm actually going to create here. Now, mind you, this is actually a known measurement as well that you can populate, but I'm going to use this as an example. For this particular formula, I'm going to call this 15 centimeters. Again, just an arbitrary value. And this value is actually going to be the value between, the apex points of your bust between the client. Apex point measurements on the bust. So I'm going to create a new piece to start with. So I'm going to hit new over here to create a new pattern. And I'm going to hit this one more time to create a new pattern in centimeters. So when you do that, you're actually going to come up with this screen over here. Now, one of the great things that we have is if we want to load in custom measurements, we can do so by hitting the measurements and load individual. So here you're going to find the measurements that you have previously saved and open those up. And they have been loaded in now. If you want to double check, let's actually go ahead and create a particular measurement, all right? So I'm going to zoom out over here just so you can see what we're doing. I've selected a point value and I'm going to select the starting point A. Now holding down the shift key to give me a straight line, I'm going to create an arbitrary distance, click and let it go, all right? So from here, I can select my length. So we can see the length has come up with 29 centimeters. Now I actually want this length to be the chest size that we had previously gotten. So you can see the measurements had been loaded in. So I'm going to remove this one over here and I'm going to actually select the across chest measurement at 86 centimeters. So you're going to hit OK and apply that value. All right. So you can see here, if I actually select that particular line, on the right hand side, you get the property editor. So let's drop this down a little bit so you can see. We've got the point label. So if we zoom it out, you'll see that second point is actually going to be A1. That's where it's picking up the label from. If you wanted to zoom in a little bit more on your points, you can do so by creating, that font a little bit larger as well for you to see. The base point is always going to be your starting point. So the one that we've got at the XY axis in the left-hand corner. The line type, again, you can change this around. So if I wanted a dotted line, I can see that that's been changed over here. You can also change the color around as well. So, if you wanted someone to be a temporary point or something to be a temporary point, and you wanted to mark it in a different color, you can do so. And you can also check the measurements. Now, let's look at this in a little bit more detail for the length. If I wanted to change my length around to, for example, chest measurement plus a little bit of ease of 2 centimeters, I can say +2, and it's going to add that ease on to make that 88 centimeters. All right. Now, one of the great things that you can also do is if you found out, your measurements changed a little bit from the last time, you can also reuse the same measurements and edit them. So we can go into edit current measurements and I'm going to edit my chest measurement. So, say for example, your chest measurements went up. So I'm going to select 90. What I'm going to do is save this particular measurement. And when I close it, you'll see it comes up with a prompt because it's recognized that your measurements were changed from the last time you were working on this. So I'm going to select yes to sync the measurements. And you can see now the formula has actually adapted the new measurements. So your cross chest was 90 and it's kept that formula in place, but just modified the measurements around. All right. So now that you've created your custom measurement profile, you can, really put in any particular measurements that you want for a pattern that you're working on or a design that you've got in mind. And this way you can create a library of measurements and profiles for your different individuals or your clients that you might be servicing as well. In the next series, we'll be continuing the Seamly 2D tutorial options. And if there's anything that you want to see in particular, feel free to let me know below. I'll see you guys next time.